Hi, welcome to Style Thoughts by Rita and our new kind of like video series called Ask Rita. I receive many great questions all the time. I want to make videos that answer some of your questions without kind of going into a 20-minute long discussion on each one. If you have questions, you can just send them to me on Instagram or via email to questions@stylethoughtsbyrita.com. I'd love to receive your questions. I'm excited to make these videos and just to like give you help with the things you're curious about. I got 3 questions for us today. So the first one comes from an anonymous viewer. Dear Rita, thank you so much for your content. You're so sweet and informative. One thing I'm confused about is how to do vertical. You mentioned a while back in your stories that having a lower waist is an important part of accommodating a vertical line, not tucking things in at the waist. But then I saw on Reddit people saying that this is completely wrong and has nothing to do with David's system. So I was wondering if you could clarify this. Thanks again for your work. So basically the question here is like, if I have a elongated vertical line, so if I'm a dramatic, soft dramatic, flamboyant natural, dramatic classic, maybe flamboyant can mean, can I do higher waisted clothes? The annoying answer is like, yeah, of course you can. There's nothing illegal, and if you have long legs, you will not look bad making your legs look long. But I'm assuming that you're asking me this question because you want to know my kind of professional opinion on fit and what looks best. And in that case, it's like, no, actually, you should probably tend more towards a dropped waist silhouette. This means either having pants, short skirts that start a little bit lower on your body, doesn't have to be super low, but just a bit lower than at your natural waist, or choosing tops and jackets that have a longer length and that wearing them untucked over your clothes to actually match the proportions of your body with your clothing. So if you've had a style talk with me, I've probably talked to you a lot about this, and many women I've spoken to have been really surprised. They're like, Rita, but I thought making the legs look long, tucking things in at the waist is the way for us to look tall. So I want to explain a bit about this misconception. I think that this misconception comes in 3 ways. Firstly, well, for women with a short vertical line, yes, actually emphasizing your natural waist, tucking things in, showing the full length of your legs is a great way to actually show the proportions of your body. So for shorter length women, this is a really nice styling tip. For women with a shorter vertical, not just shorter women. But secondly, I think that this styling tip also comes from photo shoots and editorials. Nowadays, so many people are like Instagram modeling or just wanting to take aesthetic pictures. And in the case of fashion photography, yeah, like making your legs look longer is a really great way to create this kind of like beautiful tall effect in a photo, especially because most photos are kind of shot at an upwards angle. The legs are literally the straightest part of the body, right? So it's the most vertical line you kind of can have. So taking a fashion photo in a way that elongates and emphasizes the legs is a way to make yourself look taller. But photos are not the reality. Most people you meet during the day are not looking at you from this angle where you have kind of artfully arranged your legs to look the longest they can. So I just want to say that fashion photography does not equal like lived reality, but this trend comes very much in from fashion photography tips. And thirdly, a third source of this is just kind of just normal how fashion trends spread. It's an internalized fashion rule that is reinforced over and over again because we see people tucking things in or choosing high-waisted things on Pinterest, on the Instagram, on the TikTok, on the YouTubes, wherever you get your fashion inspo, you probably see hundreds of women wearing things in, tucking things in at the waist. And then there's this conventional wisdom, like, yeah, this elongates the legs. Maybe your friends are like, your legs look so long. So we have all this info about how important it is for the legs to look long. Okay, so that's why we have this idea, but is it true, right? Well, to go back to my answer again, firstly, yeah, if you want your legs to look long, then yeah, definitely wearing high-waisted things or just short shorts and cutting off at the legs is a great way to show the legs. So I think sometimes that is something you want to achieve, that's maybe a look you're going for as a long vertical person, and like of course it's okay because it suits your purposes. However, this is really, I think, was actually like top 3 styling breakthroughs that I got from David Kibbe was the dropped waist silhouette, which again to say is where the break between the top and the bottom part is visually lower down on the body. So rather than having a shirt that ends at my natural waist, I will usually end it kind of like a little bit below my belly button, like more closer to my hip crease. This is like a David Kibbe styling hack I learned, and I don't feel like comfortable, even though it's public, to include pictures here from David Kibbe styling, but I will drop you the link below. You can scroll into his website where he styled a dramatic and I think a flamboyant natural lady in this way. And you can also visit his Facebook page. Even if you don't have Facebook, like me, I don't, you can visit his public page where he has just some photos of his reveals, and you can scroll down and you can see how for flamboyant natural, dramatic classic, maybe dramatic women, the styling is always to leave the shirt untucked and longer and lower on the body. And it's not because, oh, that's like the only shirt, or you know what I mean? Like you can see from these photos that these shirts could easily be tucked in at the waist. And if they were being styled by somebody on the Pinterest or Instagram, and this is not to disparage these people, just to say that they would be styling them a different way. I mean, basically it's just like you don't want this effect where your legs look really long and then there's a tiny upper body on them. You maybe want that effect again in the photo, but when people are looking at you from this angle when they meet you, it just causes you to kind of visually shorten, and it is a way of shortening yourself. And I talk a lot about that, how you know, we women don't necessarily want to take as much space, and maybe you want to just look kind of like a small person with really big legs, and like go for it. But I'm just teaching about the proportions. So what you want to be careful with is the length of the top. It should come down to the top of your thigh, kind of around your hip bones. If it's just kind of below your natural waist or like around your belly button and you tuck it out, it might just look kind of sloppy instead of intentional. So this isn't to say, go now and untuck all of your tops and you will see it looks better, because it does have to be like a fit that looks better like that. So that's my basic answer, is try a lower waist, give yourself that vertical and see how you like it. Sometimes people are like, well, I feel a lot more comfortable with high-waisted pants. It's like, okay, but you can just wear a long top over them. Or they're like, well, I just prefer, like, I like to look trendy, I like to show my legs, I just prefer. And it's like, yeah, but just do that then. I mean, like, there's no Kibbe god in the sky watching what you do, right? And in terms of wearing higher waisted items like dresses or jumpsuits, I think the story is quite different, because that like creates a bit of a different proportion. So I don't think you always need to have a dropped waist in all of your items. And I also, if you've seen my video, for example, recommendations for soft dramatics, I mean, I think like you can do kind of like a crop top with high-waisted things. That's not like the optimal break for your body, but especially if it's like a cord set, there's already a built-in elongation. So there's other ways to create length besides this specific waist trick. But I did want to answer this question because, like, no, it's not, I mean, Reddit is like, you know, I try to just kind of stay away even though it's hard. It's not a made-up thing. It is just both something mentioned in the book and just something that David clearly utilizes in styling his clients. So, but nobody ever has to listen to it. Okay, and now we're coming to our second question from Madison. Hi Rita, I'm a huge fan of your channel. I've been watching since the beginning and you're the best style resource I've come across. Love the new essence system. It's fun, clear, and approachable. Okay, I like that. I have a question about the elementalness you've identified as a left trait. I've had this question nagging at the back of my mind since your first essence video, actually. I noticed for all the examples of people on the left, their elemental energy to me is always either very grounding and earthy or fiery. I haven't seen any examples so far that have an air or water elementalness. I'm super curious if you'd classify those elements as more of a right energy. Like, do they fall into the lightness or ice queen energy on the right? Or if elemental encompasses all elements on the left, do you have examples of women who have more of an air, water, etc. elemental energy? I hope this is clear. Thank you and looking forward to your future videos. I love this question. So basically, elemental is air and water on the right and fire and earth on the left. I love this because I totally get where you're coming from. So, and also Miraj and I, we haven't really talked a lot about the elementalness in our videos so far. So first of all, I want to explain what elemental energy even is in case you missed it. Elemental is one of my keywords to describe the left essence in our essence system. And to me and Miraj, elementalness is the presence of something raw, pure, like a natural force that is in opposition to the refinement of the right. So this is like the heat and the energy of fire, the grounding heaviness of the earth, the flowing depth of the water, this like movement and speed of the air element. These are really poetic and evocative terms, but I do actually know a lot of people with these qualities. So even though it sounds so like poetic, it is also very true to me. That being said, yes, women who have elemental energy tend towards the left. To me, one clear representation of left styling that is very fluid, primarily water and air, is the designer Iris van Herpen. She is known for her innovative and architectural works, which really shine in the fashion show, right? So her fashion shows are really more like art works. Why am I showing this if most of us don't wear designer clothes? Because I want to communicate this poetic concept of something being so intriguing, so enveloping, so magnetic, while not being like earthy or fiery at all. In fact, I think Iris's designs are very like ungrounded and quite unfiery for the most part. Among celebrities, I would say one person I've shown, like Angelina Jolie. To me, she has a lot of watery energy, but not like only watery, but definitely that. I don't know how to explain this in relation to her styling directly, but to me, she comes off as somebody that has a lot of fluidity and depth. To me, Constance Wu is a great representative of the right up, who is very airy in her essence rather than earthy or fiery. Chloe and Halle, the R&B duo, they are very watery to me and they're left down. Maisie Williams, to me, is very airy and she's left down. I don't want to get like too much into this because like either it sounds super shallow when I just talk about it for a minute, or I have to explain it for like 10 minutes per person. But I did want to like answer this question and give you some specific inspiration because I just wanted to kind of break this mold of like, well, it has to be earthy and fiery, because I get what you mean, like, you know, light and air, they're kind of like the same thing. Watery, it can be a little bit floaty and dreamy. So it's also kind of gets at the core of the system, which is like, it is meant to be a very poetic, emotional, evocative system. So one woman's dreaminess is another woman's wateriness. And a woman on the right might have some sort of like airy or earthy or fiery qualities. But what I really mean to put the elementalness on the left is that I do think some people are really bringing this raw, like the raw power of nature somehow channeled through their physical presence and the way they present themselves in the world and the way that they then translate that presence into style. And I think that is really remarkable and special. But I wouldn't get like too fixated on the question of like who is elemental and who is not, because as with every keyword, I don't think like one word should be kind of the yes or no that defines your place in the system, but it's rather kind of how all the words add up together to point to something greater. Okay, so the third question comes to us from Nina via Instagram. Can a left-up woman who is not naturally loud and more reserved in personality, aka not into super loud and super edgy, super bright, spiky, Rihanna-level sexy clothing, still properly channel that essence? Like you mentioned so accurately in our chat, I feel like I really do have a bit of a refined and sensitive undertone to me. I also feel there are times that I like to look smart and thoughtful. Not that left-up cannot look smart or more polished, of course. I'm just trying to figure out how. I understand this may take more than a message, and if so, that's perfectly understandable. Thank you in any case. So the basic question is like, left up, can you do it without being sexy? But to me, I think this is such a wonderful question, and I wanted to kind of share it with all of you beautiful viewers, because I think it's a bit similar to the previous question on what is elemental, where it's kind of asking me like, well, how can I really navigate this system if I am a complex, multi-dimensional being? And I guess what I wanted to explain here is to show you some certain aesthetics that can help you break the box a little bit of what the left-up woman has to look like, and show you kind of what I more broadly mean by the left-up energy. So generally, yes, of course, the left-up woman can look smart, sensitive, thoughtful. Obviously, we're all people and we encompass these elements, but even within the system where we have this very crude characterization of people, it's more than possible to be like really in a left-up group while still, you know, showing this sensitivity and so on. So let's talk conceptually about what this means. To me, Rihanna is somebody who represents very sensual and a very strong persona. And Rihanna's entire persona is actually really built on her sensuality. You can see that in her music, of course, the lingerie line, even in the high fashion items that she has designed. There is just a lot of sensuality that is very like intimidating, effortful, powerful persona in the way that she dresses. And I think that because Rihanna is such a strong example of a left-up woman, we can kind of get confused and feel like, well, okay, but if my sensuality is present, but it's not at the core of my visual expression, can I be in this group? Of course, because there's only 4 groups to be in, and there's billions of women, so these groups are big groups. So to me, there's other ways to express the upness. For example, a woman who combines being really intriguing with being really mysterious or very effortful. That woman, her sensuality is woven into the fabric, but it's not kind of the defining feature. Somebody who, also just has a very strong kind of gravity and being a persona. So it's this type of woman who really like brings you into her world, so to speak, and at the same time clearly like represents somebody who is not very approachable, not very intuitive, easygoing type. I think like that is a very left-up woman. Basically, women who bring attention to themselves in the way that they dress through interesting and complicated clothes and outfits, thoughtful accessories, creating some mystery and some intimidation through layers, maybe, some big coats or powerful accessories, dark colors, anything like the lacy and sheer things that are very intriguing and mysterious, or bright colors that are not neon, or any like unexpected contrast to really draw in the eye, maybe textures. So I want to mention 3 recent fashion shows which can exemplify this aesthetic to you. Again, not because you're gonna go out and buy some runway Dior, but because I think that this can help you kind of stretch the fashion imagination of what's possible. So the first recommendation I have for women with this question is to look into like any Miu Miu show. I think the Miu Miu girl is a very left-up woman. I'm just like, whenever I watch those fashion shows, especially before I developed my style system, I honestly thought, just, I was so confused by this fashion. I was like, who is this person supposed to be? Where is she supposed to be going? And why is she dressed that way, basically? But that is such a quintessential Left Up vibe. Who is she? Where is she going? That's literally creating immediate intrigue for me, immediately bringing me into her world and wanting to know more about who this person is. I think what's really interesting also is that there's so much effort put into the looks without it being really sexual, but it's definitely sensual, and really body forward. So I think this is, I recommended this fashion show especially to Nina, because she kind of reminded me of the Miu Miu woman, very sensitive and thoughtful. I think another example is Etro. Let's take their fall winter 2021. Here the sensuality is mostly expressed through the flow of fabric, the way the garments really dance with the body. Even though these outfits are very sensual, I would not say they are sexy or loud. Rather, they are very intriguing, very enveloping. They are conveying a lot of effort, and I would say there is something very intimidating about them. And the intimidation maybe actually comes a bit from the sensuality, from the way this woman is so unapologetic about dressing in these very like rich, deep, flowy, soft colors that, and kind of creating so much visual space for and around her. I think, for women, anytime you appear unapologetic, that's always a little bit intimidating because that's kind of the world we're living in. So I think that's really beautiful with the Etro woman. And then the final example I'd like to show is the Dior Fall Winter 2021 show also. Again, this is a show where the clothes are so enveloping, so magnetic, so intriguing. I would say they are almost like ethereal, but there's nothing simplistic, there's nothing bare or approachable about the clothes in the show. Not just because, they're on the runway, so they're all complete outfits, but these clothes convey so much thoughtfulness, so much effort, and I don't know, yeah, I just think it's not because they're runway, but I think that there is something that really requires a persona to wear the clothes shown here. A person I quickly wanted to mention out of those we have already discussed is Jenna Coleman. I think that she is a really very intriguing and very enveloping essence, and I do think that she dresses in quite a sensual way, but I don't think the sensuality is kind of the hallmark of her style. So if you want a specific person, I think that can be very fun to look to. And then I wanted just to, this not help Nina so much, but I wanted to just mention this Balmain show from also Fall Winter 2021. I think this was probably my favorite show, or one of them at least. This is such a beautiful example of the Left Up that is not so gentle and sensitive as Nina is, but it is a very cool, very striking, very powerful, very intimidating, extremely magnetic and bold person to wearing these clothes. And again, I think these clothes are extremely sensual, but they're not kind of this Kim Kardashian style necessarily that we would think. But those are just some kind of high fashion concepts and ideas. And again, my idea with recommending fashion shows is that I do think it takes you a little bit beyond just the Instagram verse where people are trying to be as immediately relevant as possible, right? And kind of being as clearly trendy, and more somebody who has really thought of this the aesthetic, the woman, who is she, who is this Dior woman, who is this woman in the Etro show, who is this Balmain girl, these are really interesting questions to ask, and I think that they are also just very evocative and kind of taking you into the fashion world sphere. So that's it for this video today. I have so many questions that I'd like to answer in future videos, and I would love to hear from you with any questions you have, whether it's about reflections on the Kibi system, anything about my essence system, or honestly just general questions about styling yourself, what to do, how can I make this happen, how can I think about this better. I like this video format because it's kind of relatively easy and approachable for me. And yes, so just be in touch and let me know what you thought about this video. Bye!